Dynamite Soccer 2004 would be the fourth and final entry of this unique soccer game that would see a release on the PlayStation in 2004, as no more entries of this game would see the light of day even beyond the PlayStation. That continues on with the popular idea and aesthetic that was prevalent in the previous games. There are some subtle differences in terms of the visuals and even the gameplay style compared to that of the previous three games. While it still uses 3D environments for the stadiums and so forth, the characters and players would still be portrayed using 2D sprites, but the sprites would be somewhat upgraded and have a bit more realism to them compared to previous games in the series. And the game genuinely feels and plays a little bit different compared to the earlier titles. It's definitely got a little more of a realistic kind of element to it this time around, even regardless of how it looks. And it shows in its play style, because it is a fun game to play, but it's definitely more difficult to pick up and play. Out of all the entries that I have actually jumped into and played in recent times, I have covered previous videos on them. I'll make sure to leave the links to them in the description. This is definitely, for me personally, probably the hardest of all of the four titles to pick up and play, as from the get-go the computer AI is definitely a lot more in tune with what's going on. It is also a lot harder to score goals, as the keeper literally saves everything that you can throw at it, and in all honesty it is quite difficult to string multiple passes together, although it is doable. But it's very hard to hold on to any sort of possession for any length of period of time, because the chances are someone will take the ball off you very quickly. So you have to have your wits about you, and it's obviously one of those games that you're going to have to put a bit of time into and practice it quite a bit to get a feel for how the game really plays. But from having spent time playing it, it is a fun game, and I can only think of a handful of games or series of games that I've played over the years, and I've played a ton of football games that really stand out where you feel like you have some level of control, and this series of games definitely has that, which makes it for me a standout piece, and it's definitely worth trying out. Although each of the games in the series do feel somewhat similar, but they are worthwhile experiencing, and the fact is that they were only released in Japan is worthwhile experiencing for that aesthetic alone. Although there's very little information that can be found online regarding any of these type of games. When I try to look for reviews or anything regarding any information around these type of games, it's very difficult to find anything, even ratings. Just there really seems to be nothing there. So I suppose the only way to find out for yourself is literally to play the game yourself and to experience it and see what you think for it, which is exactly what I've done. And in fairness, they are a really good series of games compared to other soccer games I've played. And don't get me wrong, I've played plenty of soccer games over the years on the PlayStation, and I've enjoyed quite a few of them. But this series of games here, for me, even though it may not be considered as good as probably some of the more mainstream soccer games like ISS and FIFA, it definitely has a lot of character about it and charm, and definitely something about it that is unique and stands out. And they are playable and they're quite fun. So if you're looking for something a wee bit different, you can try this series of games out for yourself and see what you think. They are quite fun, although they are challenging and they can be quite cumbersome to pick up and play. But put a bit of time into it, you will definitely have a bit of fun with it, especially if you're looking for something a wee bit quirkier and that looks different from your average or more mainstream games seen on the PlayStation back during that time. And I would love to know your thoughts on Dynamite Soccer 2004 for the PlayStation, if you have played it yourself, and if so, are you familiar with the series of games that were seen live on the console during the back in the days, or during those days of the console? I'd love to hear whatever stories you do have, so be sure to share them down in the comments below. And if you would like to see more content around other types of soccer games also released on the PlayStation, you can check out this playlist here on screen to see more of those games in action. And as always, keep those gaming memories alive.